Hello, I'm Fraser Myers, Deputy Editor of Spiked, and I'm thrilled to be joined by YouTuber Mark Meechan, better known as Count Dankula. Welcome, Mark. Good to see you.
That's all right, man. Good to see you.
10 years ago, roughly this week or thereabouts, you posted a video that led to your arrest, to you being thrown in a cell, to you being convicted of a crime for being grossly offensive. That now infamous video showed you teaching your pet pug to do a Nazi salute and respond to the phrase "gas the Jews." Do you want to explain why did you make the video? What was your intention? Presumably, I mean, I wouldn't be having you on the channel if your aim was to be hateful and spread Nazi propaganda.
Well, it is. I just really love that Hitler guy. I think he's really swell. Like, no, but it was like the reason I did it is because my partner at the time absolutely loved the dog and wouldn't shut up about the dog and was constantly going on about how cute and lovely and adorable the dog was. So I thought to annoy her, I was going to get the dog to do a bunch of horrible things, like raise a Nazi salute, react happily whenever I said the phrase "gas the Jews." That was the intended joke. I decided to make a video of it to show to her because the problem was with the dog training, he didn't do it every single time, and I didn't want like a week of work going into, and then I try and do it in front of her, and then he just doesn't do it. So I would have just wasted all of that effort. So I decided to make a video of it. I posted it on my YouTube channel, which had no subscribers apart from about 8 of my friends who I knew in real life, and they all saw it and everything, and I was like, keep it a secret from her. I'm going to show it to her next time we're sitting like watching YouTube videos together. I was even going to set my phone up to like film her so I could catch her reaction and everything, but before that could happen, someone somehow found the video, posted it to Reddit. It ended up on the front page of Reddit, and then it went viral from there, and then things just kind of got a little bit crazy from that point.
And it somehow gets the attention of the police. Can you tell us what it was like when they turned up at your door? What happened? How did you feel about that?
Well, they came up and says, "I imagine you know why we're here," and I thought they were just there to talk to me because I was getting like tons of death threats and stuff like that. I was getting like harrowed an awful lot online, and I was just prepared to tell them like, "Oh no, don't worry, everything's fine. It's the internet. Don't take it too seriously." But then they just kind of glibly went, "Oh well, we're here to arrest you," and I like half laughed, and I just went, "Okay." And I went, "Really? Why?" And then they explained it about the video. And then as I got handcuffed and everything. They let me change it in my pajamas, which was nice of them, but they had to stand there and watch me getting changed. And then they led me out the house to a bunch of reporters who were waiting to get pictures of me, the nice perp walk as I'm getting led out of the house. And I believe, I can't say with absolute certainty, but there's very, very, very strong evidence to suggest that the police actually tipped the reporters off to the exact date and time of my arrest, which is they're not allowed to do. That's a breach of police conduct by them doing that, but they just never owned up to it. So basically, we've got some psychic journalists out there that just know information ahead of time. Ended up, I was arrested. I was taken down to the cells and processed. I wasn't interviewed, strangely enough. I was never sat down at a table and interviewed. But then I was put in a cell, and I was told because of the serious nature of it and because it's a hate crime, I was going to be kept in prison overnight for court the next morning. So yeah, I was kept in. I even had a guy in the cell just next to mine who had murdered someone. And other than that, so I was in there with people. There was even one guy who, funnily enough, was a friend of mine, who was also in there, who allegedly carved someone's face open with a meat cleaver. I know him. He did it, but basically, I was in with all of them, all these like serious, like crazy criminals, and I was in there because I decided to make a funny internet video.
And did you have that kind of awkward "what are you in for" conversation? That must have been.
Yep. Yeah, that happened when we were in the holding cells at the courthouse waiting to go upstairs for our trials. They did the whole "what you in for" around the room, and then it got to me and my friend, the meat cleaver guy's looking at me and laughing because he already knows. And I went, "Oh, I made a video of my girlfriend's pug doing a Nazi salute," and like 3 of the guys in the cell all jumped up happy and went, "That was you!" like dead excited about it. And yeah, but it ended up I met my lawyer, and I didn't even make it into the courtroom. I just get granted what's called PF Lib, Procurator Fiscal Liberation, which basically means here you go, there's no bail conditions, you just get to be free until your next court date. And then my trial ended up going on for about 2 whole years.
I mean, it is incredible to think that not only did this get past, more than one police officer, you're held in a cell, no one at the police station thinks that's unusual, it gets to the prosecutors, it goes to trial. I mean, can you tell us a bit about the trial? What kind of case were they trying to make against you for simply posting this joke?
Well, I think the prosecutors are really, really sneaky, and they're really, really completely morally bankrupt. Like, say, for example, if what you did was worthy of a 3-month sentence, their job's to get you 5 years, right? So they go in there and just lie, exaggerate the hell out of everything to the point where, like, he did it that egregiously that the judge actually checked him for it a few times. Even, like, halfway through the trial, the prosecutor tried to upgrade my charge to, it was something like racially aggravated verbal abuse, which instead of carrying a maximum sentence of 1 year, the maximum sentence is 5 years. Yeah, the prosecutor tried to do that in the middle of the trial. And like the judge called him out on that immediately. Like, no, you're not doing that halfway through the trial. But he was saying things like he kind of knew that we were going to make a free speech defense, which I believe we would have been successful in. So the prosecutor very cleverly blocked it by trying to convince the court that I actually meant the words that I was saying and it wasn't a joke. That was what he was trying to do the entire time. So basically, we can't therefore make a free speech defense on top of that. We can't say, yes, I was trying to get people killed, but that's my free speech. Like, you can't make that argument, and he knew that. So that's why for the whole trial, he kept us locked in over whether or not I meant what I was saying.
And so they're basically, if I'm getting this right, they're trying to argue that you were genuinely inciting violence, genuinely hoping that this pug propaganda was going to, lead to other people taking up Nazism and gassing the Jews and things like that.
Exactly. Many empires in the past have fallen for less. Like, yeah, that's what he unironically was arguing in court. He was even saying things like, picture football stadiums full of people, and he wants all of them gassed. And I was sitting there just like in the dock going, what the fuck are you talking about, man? Like, it was just like massive reach after massive reach. And unfortunately, the judge believed them.
Were you aware at the time that there was a case in the Third Reich of a dog that was taught to do a little Hitler salute and was nicknamed Hitler? Had you heard about this case? And actually, the Nazis were less tenacious than the police Scotland.
Exactly. They did try and mess with the guy's life a little bit, but eventually they dropped the charges on him. There's another little known one that a lot of people don't know about. This was recovered in Gestapo files that were translated sometime in like the last 10 years. There was a travelling circus that was going through Germany at the time, and there was a troop of monkeys in the circus. And basically, as a joke, the trainers taught the monkeys to like Nazi salute and like do Nazi stuff because they were in Germany. And the Gestapo didn't see the funny side of it. And the Gestapo communications said something along the lines of, see to it that the animals are destroyed. So there's a non-zero chance that the Nazis lined up and shot circus monkeys. Yeah. I could never find out what ultimately happened to them.
Yeah,
but there is a chance that they executed circus monkeys.
Well, thankfully, the police and the Scottish courts didn't go so far with your pet pug, and he wasn't brought in for charges. You were fined in the end.
Yeah.
Given a hate crime conviction. Did you ever pay the fine? Did you just refuse to pay it?
See, I've refused to pay the fine. Even when I was getting my sentence carried out, my lawyer read out a statement from me saying things like, if he's given community service, he won't do it. If he's given a fine, he won't pay it. He's not a criminal. He maintains that he's done nothing wrong. And the judge did stare me down for a wee second and gave me an £800 fine. And I just immediately went, I'm not paying it. I'm just not paying the fine. And even just to prove it wasn't about the money, I donated £800 to a children's hospital. Kind of just like as a little, fuck you, you're not stealing my money from me. I'm going to give it to sick children instead, just to prove that it wasn't about the money. Time went on and I was getting warning letters in, pay your fine. And I just went, nope, ignored all the letters, wasn't paying it. And then it got to the point where it went, okay, there's now a warrant out for your arrest. And I went, cool. But then like another few months go by and nothing happens. And like my wedding's coming up, and hindsight, that was a bad idea. But basically my wedding was coming up and ended up, I went, I'm just going to get the arrest done and out the way. I don't want to get arrested close to the wedding. So I phoned the police on myself and I went, hi there, there's a warrant out for my arrest. Here's where I am. Here's the address that I'm at. Come and get me. And the police, no joke, said, we're not going to come and get you until your name comes up on the computer. And I was just sort of like, I can't, so basically when I'm trying to get arrested, I can't get arrested. But when I tell a joke, they send out this, the criminal investigations department, and they even had the police's cybercrime unit and everything coming after me because I made a joke. But when I've got an official proper warrant out for me, then they won't come.
And obviously, you having donated all that money to children, you are a proper hardcore fascist. I can't think of anything more far right than that. A lot of people did try and accuse you of being far right because you garnered the support of Tommy Robinson among other people. I mean, for me, I don't know how you feel about this, but for me, I thought the worst thing about the reaction to that was that I was thinking, well, where are the liberals? Where are the comedian? If Tommy Robinson wants to support you, that's his prerogative. But where were the liberal elites, the comedians, the people that supported supported the guy who was arrested for the Twitter joke trial, the people who you would expect to defend free speech? I don't know what your take on that situation was. I thought more people should have come out to bat for you, basically, across the spectrum.
Yeah, that's exactly what I say to them whenever they try and pull me up for that stuff. I just say, where were you? Where were you? Basically, the only people that were really properly coming out and trying to support me was people like Alex Jones, Tommy Robinson. It was mostly people from the right. All I was getting from the left was just venom and attacks and people coming after me, coming after my livelihood, coming after my jobs. I couldn't get jobs during that time, and any time I did get a job, they were finding out where I was working and calling up the boss and calling up the manager and harassing the company into firing me. And the funny thing is if they hadn't done that, I would be a nobody by now. I wouldn't be doing YouTube. I would be a complete nobody that just caught a charge for something unfortunate. But because they wouldn't leave me alone, I was forced to go into YouTube, and that made me become what I am today. But anytime they bring it up, I just say, where were you? The only people I was getting support from was on the right. Not all the liberals were basically, they were just happy they had a new target, to browbeat and like take all the little, horrible little urges out on and stuff like that. Like basically they wanted me to be an enemy. They wanted a new target to go after. That's why very few of them actually came out to help me.
And unfortunately, I mean, I think your case is uniquely curious and uniquely strange, maybe uniquely funny, but it's not unique in terms of people being arrested for what they say online. The UK arrests thousands of people every year for simply being grossly offensive on the internet. And in Scotland, in particular, the laws have got even tighter with the Hate Crime Act. How do you see? Do you feel that it's got better or worse? Do you follow other cases that are similar to yours? Do you have sympathy for the kind of people who are getting caught up in this? What's your take on that?
I've got my ear to the ground for a lot of it because my second channel is where I cover mostly news-related topics, and I try and do a specific focus on freedom of speech. And so I'll cover cases where people have been arrested for, in some cases it's dumb stuff, which is pretty funny. Like a guy got arrested because he called his ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend a, quote, fucking leprechaun. No joke, he got arrested and he get charged for that and everything. So it's things, and it's getting worse. Things have progressively got a lot worse over the last 10 years. But I'm in like this weird limbo where I've made so much worse jokes since Nazi Pug. I say wild stuff all the time, but I get completely left alone, even though I know that the stuff I'm doing is a breach of this law, but I'm breaching it on purpose because, this is my form of protest about my unfair conviction. But I get completely left alone, which kind of annoys me because I used to get annoyed back in the day where I would go, well, how come these big mainstream comedians can go on TV and they can go on Mock the Week and all these panel shows and make their jokes, which could be considered a grossly offensive communication that's being beamed into people's houses, therefore a violation of Section 127 of the Communications Act, and they get away with it. I'm now in the same boat. It's just selective prosecution, and it's not fair. It's not fair on everybody else. Yeah.
I mean, that kind of brings me on to the question of, like, do you feel that in a way you've had the last laugh? Because, of course, no one would want to go through that experience of being arrested, going to court, not knowing what your fate is. But, it's great to see that you've got over 1 million YouTube subscribers now. You are well known. Do you see it that way? Is it, has it been a good thing in the end? Have you, in a way, just defeated the censors?
I was ultimately, life gave me lemons and I opened a lemonade stand. Right, that's what I did. I did, because I didn't want to go into YouTube and I just wanted to go back to normal and get a regular job. Right, I was kind of like dragged into this kicking and screaming a little bit because I didn't really have any other choice. I do feel like I did win out a little bit in the end, and I do feel that a lot of people are now a lot more wary and a lot more perceptive as to the current state of freedom of speech in the UK, which is always a good thing. If more people are watching the laws and watching what the government's up to, I think that is a good thing. The problem is, though, ever since then, the government has become so much worse. You've got the online safety bill, and then you've also got the hate crime bill in Scotland and everything, where one of the original intentions was even just possessing an offensive meme. This is originally the way that Hamza Yusuf wanted in the draft. Even just possessing an offensive meme, so not communicating it, not sending it to anyone, not making it, not doing any of that stuff, just possessing it on an electronic device could result in up to 7 years in prison. That's what they tried to get through in the initial draft, but even some people in government were like, no, that's too crazy. But it still managed to get voted through almost in its entirety. It just had a few edits made to it. And the problem that people are starting to realise is whatever legislation gets put forward, it's getting through. They do a little trick where they'll put in some crazy speech bill with some crazy parts in it, and everyone will focus on the crazy parts, even though the entire piece of legislation's terrible. The entire piece of legislation violates human rights across the board and should be gotten rid of completely. They'll put in the crazy, crazy parts that they know aren't going to fly, and then they'll remove the crazy parts to placate everyone, and then they'll put the bill through, but that version of the bill is the one they truly did want. It's a trick. It's the same as when stores say, oh, it was £10, but now it's down to £5, and everyone thinks, oh, what a great deal. It was always £5. Right, yeah, it's basically that trick that they're doing.
Yeah, I remember that with the Online Safety Act. They, great free speech victory. They got rid of the bit that said we're going to get rid of legal but harmful material. That ended, but the bill is still an absolute censorious joke. Have you got any advice? Not legal advice, I should say, but any advice to anyone who's a fellow speech criminal? Is it good to come out fighting? Good to stand up for yourself? Would you say?
It's good to come out fighting and get as many eyes on you as you possibly can. The more people that are watching you makes the government a lot more tentative about what it does to you, because the government knows that we're at a flashpoint at the moment. Tensions all up and down the country are very, very high. Right, so they're starting to sort of wheel it back a little bit. They are still doing it behind the scenes. They're even trying to, whenever people are arrested for speech offences, they're even giving them court orders of, you're not allowed to post on social media. Ironically, we're going to restrict your speech even further. Basically, whenever you say you're not allowed to talk about your case, you're not allowed to do interviews, you're not allowed to do this, the government's basically saying, stop telling on us, because it's making people very, very angry towards us. And so the government knows full well what it's doing. It knows it is widely unpopular, and it is very, very concerned about blowback from it, especially because, you saw the blowback that came from our trial. You're now getting blowback far worse than that for some of the silly, stupid things that people are getting arrested for. And it's just, things are getting worse as far as speech goes, but, accelerationism's a thing. Literally every single government that has such strict controls on freedom of speech falls anyway. They all eventually fall. The only one that's lasted a good number of years is North Korea. But even that, I think, is going to be on its last legs.
Well, thank you, Mark. Great to talk to you. Do you want to let our viewers and listeners know where they can find you?
You can find me at Count Dankula on YouTube. You can also find me at Count Dankula 2 Electric Boogaloo. That's my news channel. Count Dankula TV on Twitter, and I apologise in advance for my behaviour on there. And Count Dankula TV on Instagram as well.
Brilliant. Thanks so much. Great to speak to you.
Cheers.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed my chat with Count Dankula there, make sure you check out Spike's film on the case. It's called The Curious Case of the Nazi Pug. You will absolutely love it.